Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by writer, director, producer Robert Meyer Burnett.
Denzel Washington got an honorary Palme d'Or at Cannes yesterday. It was a secret. He didn't know it was coming.
And nobody deserves it more than he did, of course. Jonathan Voico is here.
I deserve one.
Yeah.
But anyway, see you guys. How you doing?
Chris Carr is here.
Hi, everybody.
But most importantly, of course, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and choosing to make our little show a part of your day. Here's how our show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few topics that we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, that's when we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or topic you'd like us to address, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Now, the good news about the tip link is that it's actually a good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to our podcast, either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or maybe you're watching this show a little bit later in the day, you can still send in a question. And if you send one in when we're not actually live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. Now, remember, you're just sending us a tip to support us, and as a thank you, we're going to answer your question. We are not guaranteeing we will answer your question, because if we deem your question or topic or comment inappropriate for the show, we reserve the right not to use it on the show. All right. That's it. That down. Let's get things started with this. Well, of course, Fantastic Four, and we got a couple things we're going to talk about Fantastic Four today, but Fantastic Four is coming out in July. It's almost here. I still can't believe it. They're starting to ramp up the promotion for it and all that kind of stuff. Well, this weekend, some Marvel concept art of what Galactus is apparently going to look like got released online. And this is from Comic Book Movie, showing what Galactus with the Cuisinart hat is going to look like.
It's not comic accurate.
It's not pretty comic accurate.
It's not in a comic book.
Someone may still find a reason why it's not comic accurate.
This is what they're saying. The first look at Ralph Ineson's Galactus in the Fantastic Four.
Wow.
First steps. All right. Now look, I am not one of those people who thinks if you're going to do a movie, it has to look just like the comics. I've never thought that because it doesn't make a movie any better or worse. However, I don't like them straying too far. Like I don't like the poo cloud Galactus that we had at one point in a Fantastic Four movie. But if you are one of those people that really likes it to look as comic book accurate as possible, I don't know how you're not happy with this.
Someone said the colors are muted. They found something.
You find something to nitpick
They found
about.
something.
I need bright purple. If it's not bright purple, it's not my Galactus. I'm looking at this and I gotta say, this looks pretty darn good. I like the look of it. Rob, what did you think about this first look we're getting at Galactus?
Well, comic books, especially newsprint comic books, that's why they're called four-color fantasies. When you have, obviously, comics are comics and movies are real. That's the difference. Movies are real, so they have to look like real colors that exist in nature that we've seen before. It's not like they're painted with Dayglow. No one painted Galactus with Dayglow paints. How do we know where those colors came from? It's not purple, by the way. It's whatever, Galactus's planet calls it.
It's interdimensional plum.
Yeah, whatever that is. I mean, the idea that
make my
something has
office
to
that
look
color.
like it needs to look on the comic book page is ridiculous. Because comic books are not real. They don't exist in nature. They come from a four-color color palette. I mean, it's like, come on, man.
The thing
That
is,
looks like Galactus.
I mean, we've seen comics where it's muted also.
Of course.
So it's not like, whatever.
What I want to know, looking for who is Galactus's Edna Mode? Who designed the gloves? Who created the little crotch piece?
Well, Jack Kirby.
I mean, yes. But I mean, who is his tailor?
She said, no capes.
No capes. Anyway, Chris, you had a chance to take a look at this Galactus. What do you think of the design?
Man, he needs some moisturizer.
Yes.
It's dry out in space.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This looks great, though. I feel like this is as comic book accurate as you can get. What I need, though, is to see this in scale with everything else.
The real question is, who is Galactus's orthodontist? He has great teeth.
He does have great teeth. And he's got quite the headgear.
No sugar in space. and yeah, listen, I'll say the unpopular thing. I don't care. I've never liked the design of Galactus's helmet.
What?
Nobody would wear that.
Oh.
Nobody would wear that.
Well, nobody's eating planets either, John.
Well, that's true.
There.
I'm not going to take that
It's
away.
also functional, dude. It's so you can get
Sometimes I feel
Wi-Fi
like I'm eating
anywhere in the
I was going to
universe.
say, is it like some kind of antenna?
It's the ultimate Bluetooth antenna.
Is it how he keeps in touch with Silver Surfer, like
And
across
the Celestials
galaxies?
and everybody else. You know, he's on speed dial to
Gotta
God.
have that range, baby.
I'm just not sure what the point of the anyway. I'm sure Galactus knows. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this first look at Galactus? Do you like the look of it, or do you not like the look of it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Under the category of sucks, this sucks. We've known for a little while that they are making a live-action Voltron movie with my boy, Henry Cavill.
And he's also there.
And there he is right there. My boy, Henry Cavill. Very excited. And didn't they say Idris? No, not Idris Elba. From This Is Us.
Sterling K. Brown?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sterling K.
He's
Brown.
He's in it.
In it, all that kind of stuff. People have been waiting forever. Cannot wait to go into a movie theater and watch Voltron. And listen, we were just at CinemaCon. CinemaCon had a big presentation from Amazon MGM with a big slate and lineup of big, great-looking movies that are coming to theaters. They didn't really talk about Voltron.
At all.
Now we know why. Because they're dumping Voltron on streaming. This comes to us from Game Rant, wrote the following. Voltron is an adaptation of the iconic 1980s animated series and is one of the most anticipated upcoming releases from Amazon MGM Studios. Amazon has been resurrecting 1980s IP just like Roadhouse. Unfortunately, despite reports about Amazon investing in movies for theaters, Cavill's Voltron is reportedly not getting the same treatment. Despite Amazon's commitment to theatrical exhibition, Voltron is going straight to their Prime Video streaming service, the Wrap reported. The move, is not unprecedented because Roadhouse, whose director thought it would have gotten a theatrical release, also went straight to streaming. Now, you guys will remember that back when Roadhouse was coming out, director Doug Liman got really pissed because apparently they told him he was making a movie that was going to get a theatrical release. Our understanding of Voltron was that it was going to get a theatrical release. Granted, at CinemaCon, they just, very conspicuous by its absence, they never talked about it, other than to mention it was shooting. But they gave us this big, huge portfolio of all these great-looking films that are coming, and I thought, oh, that's kind of odd that they didn't mention Voltron. Well, now we know why. Voltron is getting dumped on streaming. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Voltron was my most anticipated upcoming movie. I'm looking forward to it. It's Henry Cavill. It's Voltron. I grew up watching Voltron. But I was looking forward to sitting in a movie theater on the biggest possible screens with the biggest possible sound and watching five lions combining to make a giant robot, hopefully not wearing muted purple.
Hopefully, man.
Fingers crossed.
Shit's muted.
And now I feel like we've just been robbed. I feel like don't get me wrong. If you'd asked me, hey, do you want a Voltron movie with Henry Cavill and Sterling K. Brown, but it's going to be on Amazon or nothing? Well, I'll take the one coming to Amazon. Sure. Why would you not put this in theaters? This is absolutely idiotic. This is a movie, like out of all the movies they showed us from Amazon's presentation, other than 5 Minutes to Mars. What was the name of that movie again? The one you're looking forward to the most.
Oh, Project Hail Mary.
Project Hail Mary, also known as 5 Minutes to Mars. A little longer than 30 Seconds to Mars. But other than Project Hail Mary, that was the movie that most looks like it needs to be on the big screen.
Yes.
But other than that one, out of all the movies they showcased, this is the one that is really made for the big screen.
Is it though?
It's Voltron.
You don't think it is?
Voltron. You don't want to see giant robotic lions
I do,
combining into an even bigger robot, pulling out a laser sword from his crotch, and on the biggest possible screen? I don't know. And Chris, I needed to go over to you on this first, though.
Because of the laser crash. That's
Yeah, I was
usually on a
like,
small
we're
screen.
gonna transition
That kind of film is usually a small screen that you watch in private.
transitioning to Chris now.
So
with age controls.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You hear? Are you surprised to hear this is now going straight to streaming? I don't know. What do you make of this?
I'm surprised in the way that Amazon has said that they are committing to more theatrical releases, both financially and philosophically. And it's odd to have something that has a big budget that feels like it should be on a big screen because it's a ginormous robot battling, intergalactic threats and such. You feel like that's the kind of movie you put on a big screen, not a small streaming service. Well, not that Amazon's a small streaming service, but you know what I mean, a small screen. So that's a little odd to me. That being said, I love this cast. I don't want them in this IP, honestly, do a different kind of like kaiju, battle royale, big robot kind of thing. For me, Voltron has always been, and it doesn't mean that you can't explore and play with it, but it's always been about young people who have to come deal with these threats. It's always been a plucky band of individuals who are, training to be pilots or, kids who are struggling, who have been part of the Voltron core, and having it be, 30 to 40-year-old men was just, are they in charge? Are they teaching them? I've never really loved where this story seemed to be going. But that was just my knee-jerk reaction to somebody who deeply loves Voltron, particularly the reimagining that DreamWorks did recently. So if they don't put this on a big screen, it kind of makes me think that this film didn't deliver like they thought it would and is kind of more on par with where my expectations were. Putting it on streaming makes me think it's a vote of, unconfidence.
Anyway, Rob, you've heard? Are you surprised they've roadhoused this? And is this the right move?
Let me just say, before I knew what this topic was, I put this Wing Gundam T-shirt on. Like Voltron, look, give me
Let's
some
see that Wing
give me
Gundam.
Get
There
a
we go.
Robo or Get a Robo G. Give me Mazinga Zeto. Give me Guy King. Give me UFO Grendizer. Give me Gundam. That's what I want. Voltron is just some Johnny Come Lately rip off. Who cares? I never thought this movie was going theatrically. I mean, I'm waiting for my Gundam movie for how many years? We got to see, you know what? I watched Ready Player One the other night as I was going to bed just to watch the
Such a great
RX-782
Yeah.
fighting for that moment. I mean, come on. You got Kaneda's bike in there. Let's see some real Japanese sci-fi. Let's bring it, not this Voltron.
Okay, well,
Second
aside
tier.
from the
No.
fact that you
No, I'm
want to
just
see
kidding.
something else,
I do. You're right.
what
It's
about
true.
the thoughts on Voltron?
Okay, here's the thing. Voltron, I never thought this movie was going theatrically, I guess.
Oh, okay.
I always thought it was being made for streaming because I think that I would have heard about like effects houses working on this. It would have been,
That's
I think,
true.
a much bigger, because this requires, I mean, by the way, I used to own a really great die-cast Voltron. And there are some great, I think there's some great, there's a Soul of Jigokin Voltron that's really nice. So I'm not against Voltron. There are things I'd rather see more. I just think that I just never thought this was going to be like Pacific Rim, which to me is while Pacific Rim is not perfect, it's
Damn,
one of
is
the
it
greatest.
fun.
It's one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yeah.
Just saying. It really is. Not the second one. Not
No.
Uprising.
No.
But the first was one of the greatest movie going. Friday the 13th 3D and Pacific Rim are two of my favorite experiences in a movie theater. Just saying.
I never would have thought those would be.
I tend to agree with Chris here that this, to me, is a supreme Chancellor Valorum-sized vote of no confidence.
Yeah.
I know.
R.I.P. Valorum.
That means it's going to be that much harder to get Gundam made.
Or Macross or whatever ones that they want to do. I don't get it. This is something that people have been excited about for years. Not having it as a big screen experience. Yeah, to me, this is Amazon waving the white flag and saying, our movie sucks. It didn't turn out to be as good as we want.
Especially after Godzilla -1. You'd think that they'd be able to pull
What
off
if it?
something cool.
What if, I was wondering, what if like, because you're talking about a plucky band, and these are like, what if it turns out like Sterling K. Brown and Henry Cavill die in the first act?
Ooh.
So it's left to them, and then they
Suicide
figured
Squad
like
me?
that's gonna piss off audiences so much that it's just gonna go to streaming.
Genuinely, I'd be there for it.
I think a lot of it might have to do with how the effects turned out.
You're probably right. I'm just
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's going to be big too. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think? I mean, I am clearly supremely disappointed both in the news and in Amazon. I'm really disappointed in them that they would do something as stupid as this. But stupid is what they're doing. They have chosen the path of stupid. And we're all just going to have to live with it. I don't know. Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? You know, one of the things that we've all been waiting for quite a while is news on the Batman 2. We've been talking a lot about it recently between the Production Weekly reports and all that kind of stuff. But we've now actually gotten a positive piece of news as far as forward momentum goes. And that news is this. According to a report in the Wrap, Matt Reeves is about to next week turn in the script, at least the first draft of it. This comes to us from Coming Soon, who writes, according to a recent report from the Wrap, Reeves is nearly finished writing the script for the Batman 2, at least the first draft. According to an insider with knowledge of the project, Reeves has been sending pages for more than half a year, and the first full draft of the script is expected to be delivered by Memorial Day, the article notes. As a Canadian, I don't know when that is, but Jonathan Voico, an American, told me that's next Monday. So
Once
next week,
again, you have all Apple products. It's in your calendar, John.
I know, but I just don't know
It's
this.
right there.
I just don't know
Neither
this
do
stuff.
Americans. We're not that smart about our dates. We look at a calendar.
That's what I did.
Anyway, look, I still need to ask the question before we get into the more positive aspect of why has it taken years to get a first draft of a script? I mean, I understand there was a writer's strike. That definitely accounts for part of it. I would think that we would have been on our final draft by now. So it is what it is. But again, this kind of showcases something that is kind of a point we've been trying to make. There's kind of a belief circulating online that James Gunn doesn't want this Batman movie based on nothing. Right. James Gunn absolutely wants this Batman movie. And I think the fact that this is still happening, that the scripts are being submitted next week, all that kind of stuff shows that this is still in process. This movie is coming. We are getting the Batman 2. I'm still not 100% sure when we're going to get it. I'm still not 100% sure Matt Reeves himself will direct or if he'll just write and produce. Don't know yet. Could be either. But I think it's still a positive sign. So now they said, Production Weekly said this thing was going into production first quarter 2026. Now remember, that means when cameras start rolling. Work on a movie begins long before the cameras start rolling. Costume design, sets being built, all like visual effects being done before they even start shooting certain scenes. There's months and months and months and months of work that goes into a movie before cameras start rolling. So if they're saying this movie is going to start shooting first quarter of 2026, I mean, Matt Reeves better get moving on because they need a final draft. And I will go so far as to say if they are actually going to shoot this thing beginning of 2026, they need a final draft by the beginning of September. I mean, early. Now, you can get working on some stuff before a final draft is submitted, I suppose. But anyway, I still take this as good news, generally speaking. Rob, you're hearing this now. The Wrap is reporting that the first completed draft of the Batman 2 is going to be submitted on Monday. I mean, they've already bumped release dates before. Do you think they can make a beginning of 2026 shoot schedule at this point? What do you think?
Well, if the script is good, I mean, if the first draft is in great shape and if they've been working on it for a long time, and I think, remember, in between Batman, they did make the Penguin, and I think that probably took up some of the time, some of the energy that was put into the script. So, look, they definitely could. I mean, it's only May. 6 months lead time. Yeah, absolutely, they could get it done. So it's just a question of how good it is. We've heard rumors of Matt Reeves' health, if he's going to direct it or not. I don't know. I hope he's healthy. I really think he's a great director. I'd love to see what he does with the second one. But, I mean, if the script is good, they could absolutely start shooting it in 2026, early 2026, if it's good, if the studio likes it.
Chris, I mean, this is a movie that has been delayed. It's had potential release dates bumped and moved. Now we're in a kind of position where we're kind of just waiting to see what's going to happen. If this report is right, and there's no reason for us to doubt that it is, if this report is right and that first draft is going to be submitted, do you think it's still realistic that in the first part, like maybe the first month or two of January or the first month or two of 2026, this thing can actually start shooting? Like, can we get this movie by 2028? Or do you think it's even going to happen at all?
I think we could be shooting by 2026. I think that's possible. I do love, though, that it's the first draft is due by this time. Just to quote Douglas Adams here, I love deadlines. I love the sound of them whooshing by as they pass, right? I feel like a deadline is there as a placeholder, not an actuality. And I'm not quite sure why we are reporting on this draft being in. I want to know when it's production. I want to know when it's this. And frankly, the duration of this, the optimist in me is going, oh, it's because this is going to be a great script and he wants to just deliver something really excellent to follow that up, and he's not rushing that excellence. And the pessimist in me is going, man, they're really dragging their feet on this one, aren't they? Oh boy, I don't know if they know what they want to do. I'm trying to go more towards that optimist. I'm trying to allow that to be what I'm running with here, and hoping that they're just really taking their time to deliver something great, since this is Elseworlds and doesn't have to be tied into everything else. I'm hoping that everybody at WB is allowing Reeves to just really create the world and follow up that he wants and intended from the jump, so that we just continue living in this world in a really exciting and fun way, not rushing the process.
I also think they might not have pulled the trigger on having him write the script because they didn't know what they were going to do. Like you have the DC, James Gunn's DC universe, and they had to decide, are we going to move forward? We know we're going to do the Penguin series, so they did that. And if you think about it, that was 8 episodes, so that's like 4 2-hour movies. And then they probably held off and they didn't pull the trigger on having him write the script because they have to pay him, and it ain't cheap. I mean, and you're not gonna start that process unless you know that you're gonna make the movie. So I think the great thing about him delivering the script is, in this case, if it was a first-time script, I'd say there's no guarantee they're gonna make the movie. But I think actually there's no guarantee they're ever gonna make a movie. How many scripts for Logan's Run have they written? But I think they have committed to the fact that they are indeed planning to make this film. That's what I would imagine. So that's a good thing.
Now, James Gunn said when he and Peter Safran first took over DC, one of the first questions put to him is, are we still going to get the Batman 2? He said, yes, absolutely. So it seemed like they made that commitment a while ago. By the way, I just want to point out something. There's some people in the live chat saying, Matt Reeves usually only does one draft. Listen to me carefully. Matt Reeves will do as many drafts as the studio tells him to do. Like, the studio is still the one paying the bills, and they're the ones who got to click the green light. And that's not going to happen until they're happy with the script. So you can say, no, Matt Reeves only does one draft. Matt Reeves will do as many drafts as the studio tells him to do.
What does that even mean?
That
draft.
He makes sure it's perfect before he submits it. I get that. But again, that's not his decision. That's the studio's decision. And if they, like you said, Rob, if they like it, I mean, maybe they look at it and go, you've given us a Picasso. You've handed us perfection. Start pre-production. I mean, that can happen. But it can also go, we like this, but we don't like this and this. Change these parts up, and they'll have to go back and do another draft. But we'll see. But again, according to the Raps report, like, he's been submitting pages as they go. So hopefully this isn't going to be one of those situations where they need 5, 6, 7 drafts. I mean, hopefully they'll be as close to finish with the first one as possible. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Apparently, the first completed draft of The Batman 2 is getting submitted into the studio this coming week. Does that mean all the machine is running? Everything's well oiled? We're on track to finally get The Batman 2? Or do you think there's still some doubt about it? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? One of the more fun times, actually, you know what? I've been really lucky. I'm just so used to seeing a bunch of movies and then, this one's not so good, whatever, Snow White, man. I've been really lucky. The last couple of films I've gone to see in movie theaters, I've really enjoyed. So Sinners, obviously it was so great. I still think the best film of the year so far. I thought Thunderbolts was wonderful. And then I went to go see Final Destination this past week. I'm not a Final Destination fan. What a hoot.
Yeah.
What a fun time at the movie theaters I had. And I went with Anne and her sister. Anne and Ray's sister. Her name's Olive. She's not really into the horror movies, but she was hooting and laughing and yelling and stuff like that. It was a grand old time. And the results, by far, the biggest opening weekend for a Final Destination film ever, as they were projecting hopefully 40 to 45 million. made $51 million in its opening weekend. The folks over at Variety are writing the following. Final Destination Bloodlines made a killing, made a killing in its international box office debut, scaring up $51 million from 74 markets. That's $51 million domestically. Warner Brothers New Line's R-rated horror film added another $51 million domestically for a $102 million global start, thanks to positive word of mouth and great reviews. Final Destination secured by far the best opening weekend in the 6-film series, which began with 2000's Final Destination. With this momentum, it'll also eventually rank easily as the highest grossing installment over 2011's The Final Destination that made $186 million globally. This thing's going to make over $186 million globally by the end of next weekend. I got to tell you, as fun as the presentation they showed us at CinemaCon looked, I still didn't know if that many people would rush out to see it, given the history of Final Destination. It's not a blockbuster franchise. I mean, even if you love the franchise, it's right. It's that's just a fact. It's never been a blockbuster franchise. I could not be happier for its success. I love it when good movies get rewarded by the audience. This is a good, fun movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. And the fact that it was able to pull in $51 million domestically for a franchise that has never done those kinds of numbers, I think speaks volumes about the early word of mouth strategy that they employed, a really well executed, but not expensive marketing campaign, all right, and some terrific trailers. And they just got that perfect storm together and created this amazing launch for this franchise. Again, I couldn't be happier for it. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance. This movie made $51 million. Were you expecting that big? Are you surprised? And what do you credit this huge record setting for the franchise opening to?
Well, first of all, the movie itself delivers, and when we were at CinemaCon, like I like the Final Destination franchise. I mean, I think back to Morgan and Wong doing that first one, James Wong directed it, and the cast, even like Kristen Cloak, it kind of came out of the X-Files, that family. And I liked it. I liked the first Final Destination movie. And I've kind of liked all of them to varying degrees. They're fun. But when we saw that clip at CinemaCon, you could tell they're really going for the jugular. Like all bets are off. And I'm like, okay. And then I was hearing that this is the least of the kills that were in the movie. And so I'm like, they might have something here. And it doesn't surprise me now. Because look, horror, I've had a fun time at horror films, beginning with Companion. I really like Companion back in January. I'm like, how did they not leverage? I thought the marketing for it was terrible.
Oh yeah, they did a terrible job.
And
that movie, it's a great movie.
That movie deserved to have a Bloodlines opening.
Yes, it did.
And again, that was a New Line film. Same studio. It's like, why couldn't you have bring that A-list marketing game the way you brought it here? Look, all I can tell you is that because this is a New Line film underneath Warner Brothers. So is Weapons. And so same studio, and the Weapons marketing campaign so far has been really good. And I want to see that ramp up because I want to see Weapons kill it. I hope it's as good as Bloodlines is, but I'm excited that it's another win. It's 3 in a row for Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca.
I'm telling you, the narrative around those two has changed, because just a couple of months ago, the whole narrative was like, any minute now, they're going to fire DeLuca and Abdi. They're gone. And then we got the near $1 billion film in Minecraft. Then we got the staggering success of Sinners. And now we got a record-breaking $51 million opening.
And these aren't $200 million movies either.
The narrative has changed.
Yeah, and I think it's great. And, you got Superman coming in July, which is still under the Warner umbrella. You've got Weapons in August. They must have something in between.
I can't wait for that movie, for Weapons. That's going to be so good.
I can't wait either. And I just, again, horror, I love good horror. Love good horror. And I think it's great for everybody involved.
Chris, as our horror aficionado,
I was gonna say, why are you even coming to me?
but I am curious, as somebody like who's not necessarily a big horror fan, this thing just made $51 million opening weekend. What do you attribute that to when you look at everything surrounding the film? And are you surprised by that big of a number?
I mean, I feel like this has had a great marketing campaign. I think they've done a really great job making sure everyone knew this movie was out, talking about it, building off of everything else from the franchise. Because shockingly, I have seen Final Fantasy, the first one. And I got to
Final
read the
Destination?
Final Destination, excuse me. Final Fantasy. I'm playing that video game at home. Final Destination.
Although I
and
like the movie, Final Fantasy.
Advent Children's great. It's a good one. That's more of my jam than this kind of stuff. But Rob also hooked me up with Jeffrey a couple years ago for a fundraiser, so I got to read the original script with a bunch of people, where it was way more.
That's right. You read that on stage, right?
Yeah, we did it on Zoom.
On Zoom, right? Yeah. Jeffrey Reddick.
Yeah, he's so nice. And so these films really connect with a deep, deep fear of just anything and everything can kill you. And also that death is inevitable. And so it touches on two very different fears of just anything can be weaponized against you, but also death is not something you can run away from. It's going to happen no matter what. We're never going to escape it. And I feel like these films have really done a great job of playing with those fears and concepts. And this just looked not only super scary, but fun. And I'm seriously debating if this is one I will go see.
I think you can.
I think it sounds fun.
Because look, it doesn't qualify as a horror film. Yes.
Yeah.
But when I came out of it, I did my out of theater reaction. I'm like, I didn't feel like I just stepped out of a horror movie. I felt like I just stepped out of a bonkers action film, a comedy action film more than, because it's legitimately very funny.
Yeah.
As well. And there's, without giving any context, the line I laughed the hardest at, and if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you'll have no idea what this means. But the one character says, "Is that why he always wanted to play catch?" I laughed my ass off. And the humor in it never felt forced or anything like that. And you know what? You had a friend who saw it really early who mentioned to you that the opening 10, 15 minutes are insane.
On the Space Needle.
Totally delivers. The first 15 minutes are crazy. I'm like, where do you go from here?
Hometown horror, man. The Ring, the remake of The Ring, and Final Destination. Seattle's place to set great horror. Man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, guys, there's some great movies to go see in theaters right now between Final Destination, Sinners. By the way, don't sleep on The Accountant 2. It's great. Go and see The Accountant 2.
It's doing pretty well as well.
Thunderbolts, which, just is zooming in on 400 million now. I mean, there's a bunch of really good stuff out there. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? A Final Destination Bloodlines, I can't believe I'm saying this, made over $50 million on its opening weekend, and it's easily by far the biggest opening for the franchise, will become the biggest box office success in the franchise history. What do you attribute that to? Did you see the film? If so, what did you think? Whatever your guys' thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this. The Last of Us, in its second season, had its 6th episode last night. Now, going to let you guys know, we might go into some spoiler territory here for last night's episode. I mean, they did the preview for last night's episode last week, so you know what this week was about. But still, we're going to pop up a little spoiler warning. So as long as this spoiler warning is here, we may talk about some details about the show. You've been warned. For now, if you don't want to hear anything or know anything about the episode, make sure you click mute and then unmute it once that little notification disappears. So with that down, let's talk about this. Last week's episode ended with the preview of this week's, where we knew we were going to get the flashbacks. Those infamous and famous scenes from the Last of Us 2 game when he takes her into the space park and all that kind of stuff. And I will say this. While definitely no action in this episode, I think this may now be my favorite episode of the season. I think it might be my favorite. I mean, obviously the episode with the infected invasion of Jackson, that was amazing and all that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you what, man, I was gripped to my TV every second of last night's episode. From the moment they showed in the preview of Ellie sitting in the space capsule, Joel playing the guitar and singing for her, and you can see how much she loves him. Like, the performances in this show have always been top notch. I don't think it's ever been better than last night's the pure performances of the characters and everything. I don't think it's been better than last night. I bought into everything as they go through slowly the stages of Ellie becoming more and more angry with Joel and why. And then this revelation of after the dance, she came back out to the porch to talk, a part that's not in the game, by the way. And she came back out to the porch and like saying, this is your last chance. If you lie to me again, we're done. And if you have any doubts about Pedro Pascal's, which you shouldn't at this point, but if you have any doubts about Pedro Pascal's acting prowess, last night's episode kills them. Because the way he's sitting there with his internal conflict and all this kind of stuff and feeling so emotional as she's asking him question after question and barely even being able to get the words out of his mouth. And by the way, something else they added to the show that's not in the game, flashback to Joel as a child with his own dad, which was brilliant when you fast forward to the end of this episode and he's talking to Ellie and he says, you know, someday, hopefully you'll do a little bit better than me, which is the same thing his dad told him. And it's like, I'm watching this episode and it, like, there's no fisticuffs. There's no big infected invasion. And I was absolutely glued. And by the time the episode ended, I was shocked because it felt like it had been 20 minutes and it was like an hour and 10. And, you know, I actually texted Rob last night as I'm watching it. I'm like, for an episode with no action, I was like, the cinematography in this episode is next level. Like the choice of when tight shots and the way they use the camera and the visuals of Ellie in the space capsule, imagining it going into space. I was like, the level of pure filmmaking skill in this show blows my mind. I absolutely adored the episode. And having, what was his character's name in Matrix? Cypher. Joey
Pants.
That's right.
Joe Pantoliano.
There it is. Joe Pantoliano. Having him in there as Gail's husband.
Oh, that was great.
Oh my God. And it was just, this is why HBO Max is the gold standard when it comes to TV. It just, I loved the episode so much. And I was shocked to realize that next week is the finale, which totally bums me out. Because I mean, we're gonna have to wait at least a couple of years for the next episode and next season. I mean, at any rate. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance to watch last night's episode of Last of Us. What were your takeaways from it?
First of all, I love this episode. You know, it reminded me of episode 3 of the first season with the two guys, where as you know, one of the great things about what The Last of Us can do as opposed to what, say, The Walking Dead does is it stops everything and it reminds you that this show is about human beings. And that's about human beings that are essentially, it's about the good in human beings. And so often, like, the Walking Dead, just how much more degradation and horribleness do human beings are they going to show us, you know, on display in this situation where the world is coming to an end? Whereas this showed, even after the cordyceps, the infestation of the world, these are two human beings that were trying to hang on to their humanity. I love the scene when he walks in and the tattoo artist is doing
so good.
You know, and he goes, "Great! You're going to be all the teenage stuff is going to happen.
All the
now.
teenage issues happening all at once.
Sex, drugs, whatever,
tattoos."
And I love the performance. Whoever that girl that played the tattoo artist, she's like, "I'm going to go now." Like the awkwardness of that whole thing. I'm just getting a tattoo, Dad. She's putting on her shirt. Sure, you are. I mean, I thought this was beautifully directed. It was beautifully shot, and I got to tell you, I mean, then it hit home hard because when they brought it around to Catherine O'Hara's husband again, which I wasn't expecting them to do. I mean, I knew that was kind of a lingering plot thread, but I'm like, how are they going to deal with that? It was that scene when he's standing up and he realizes what's happening as he's walking to the lake's edge.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole episode was incredible. I mean, it was, and like you said, I love them going to the museum. It was a really, really, really great episode. And it gave people that haven't played the game, I think, much needed insight into Ellie's character. And it made the whole thing that much more heartbreaking. It humanized it. It's so the second game, from what I understand, because I haven't played the second game, but the humanization of all of this anger and hate. If the first game was about love, the second game is truly about hate. We needed some love to make the hate work.
Yeah.
And this gave us that emotional underpinning that will fuel the rest of this, well, not the one episode and then into the next season.
You know, that scene, by the way, I said the when she came back out that wasn't in the game. I don't remember from the game, but I got a number of people in the live chat telling me that was in the game. And it's been years, so you have to forgive me that I missed that. But like, Chris, that moment that when she turns to him and says, I don't know that I can forgive you for this, but I'd like to try.
Ugh.
In that moment, my mind flashed back to last week with the pure monster Ellie taking a pipe and beating the body of that girl. And you're like, oh, I get it now. I get it. I get the rage. Like I knew. I was comparing the other day to when Ellie was watching Joel die to Bruce Wayne in the alley. I've always said in the alley with his parents, Bruce Wayne died and the Batman was born. And I felt like in this thing, in that chateau, Ellie kind of died and like the monster Ellie was born, who still has the facade of regular Ellie, but you saw the real Ellie come out in that scene.
I love that comparison. Yeah.
And then seeing that scene on the porch just made it all the more real, and you understand this visceral hate as Rob's talking about. Anyway, what did you think about the episode overall, and how do you see it fitting into the overall series?
It's fabulous. I'm really sick of sobbing on Sundays. I really need to find something light to watch, you guys. This was so great. And Tony Dalton's performance in this in particular, I think should be highlighted because he does such a wonderful job of playing Joel's father. I did not know this was a show that was going to also explore generational trauma. And here we are. And I just love that through line constantly of, I can be a little bit better than you. And hopefully you're going to be a little bit better than me. Just passing that on. Better than your parent. Hope your kid is better than you. And that being this kind of thread of how Joel had to survive and hopes Ellie will survive just a little bit better than him. And also having this kind of mulligan in a way almost of, I already know the mistakes I made with my daughter. I've got to be a great dad for this daughter. I have to protect her at all costs. And no matter what, I'm going to do whatever it takes to protect her. And seeing everything he's done is justified, but also knowing that he still deserves to pay for it has been such a great thing to explore with Joel. And this really just helped explain more of that. I never thought I would need more backstory on Joel. And I feel like this was such a great way to enrich that character, to just give me a little bit more insight into how he feels and his motives and everything too.
I totally agree with you. And I have to say that I think it's essential to watch the after shows.
Yeah.
In terms of your enjoyment, because Neil Druckmann explains that Craig Mazin said, let's do a flashback to Joel's father, and Neil Druckmann says,
who's the swordsman, by the way.
Yeah.
who says, Neil Druckmann said, I never thought of that. Like, and that was a Craig Mazin idea. And it shows, I mean, I thought it spoke to how great adaptation works, where you've got one of the creators of this game and you can have another very, very talented, very smart writer come in and go, what about we do this? And when you have the creator of the game go, that's a great idea, and they give you that scene, and it shows how real adaptation, especially when you're dealing with really great writers who really understand the IP, how they can do something new that fits beautifully in and add something that we never got before from the original. And that process and seeing how they think about all this has been really gratifying, because you're listening to the showrunners. And I like the same thing with House of the Dragon. I really think that these after shows are integral.
Oh, they absolutely are. It's great to see a writer's room that's void, at least to our extent of what we're saying, void of ego, of just, we're not being so precious with the original thing that we can expand or we can change things up. And Druckmann talked about too how he took from his own personal life of this fear when he was becoming a father of, I gotta not make the mistakes my parents made, but also like, I'm going to make mistakes. So how do I parent? How do I do anything?
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think of last night's episode of The Last of Us? It's just top tier television. Anyway, whatever you guys thought about it, jump down into the conversation below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, listen, with that down, we still have a number of other topics and issues we got to talk about, including Fantastic Four. They may have just released our first little glimpse of, we're getting Franklin Richards. I doubted that we would, but apparently we are, thanks again to an advertisement from a toy line. And we're going to talk about that. Also, Superman is going to have early screenings for a select few people, and we're going to talk about how you can get tickets to an early screening like 5 days before the movie comes out. And according to a new report, even though they've been shooting Avengers Doomsday for a while now, they still don't have a contract with Tom Holland for it. Apparently, they still want Tom Holland in it, but they don't have a contract for him yet. Anyway, we're going to discuss that and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick moment here and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at BetterHelp. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, BetterHelp. You know what? I think we've come a long way in how we talk about mental health. I mean, that great show Shrinking certainly helps, but it used to be something people avoided bringing up. But now, more and more, we're realizing it's just as important to take care of yourself mentally as it is taking care of yourself physically. But still, 1 in 4 Americans say that they've skipped getting any kind of help because they're afraid of getting judged, and that has got to change. This month is Mental Health Awareness Month, so let's talk about how therapy isn't just for people going through major life events. It's for learning healthy coping strategies, building boundaries, and growing into the best version of ourselves. And BetterHelp makes it easier than ever. They've been connecting people with licensed therapists for over 10 years, with a network of over 30,000 professionals across a wide range of specialties. It's completely online, so it fits into your schedule. No commuting, no waiting rooms, and if the therapist you're with isn't the right fit for you, you can switch at any time, no extra cost. We are all better with help. Visit betterhelp.com/Campea to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this. Fantastic Four is coming. I mean, I know we've been focused a little bit more on Superman. I am, quite frankly, more excited about that movie, but Fantastic Four is a huge thing. Fantastic Four, a huge line of losses, but now they're with Marvel and being done for the first time. Pedro Pascal is going to be leading the cast. Now, one of the questions there has been floating around is, are we going to see Sue and Reed's mutant child, Franklin Richards, in this? Now, we know from the trailers that she's at least pregnant in this, so we know Franklin is coming, but are we going to see him in this movie? I have said, I've had my doubts. I mean, no one ever told me they weren't going to get him. I said, as a fan, my guess is we're not going to see him. Well, you know who knows better than I do? Funko. Because apparently, continuing in the long tradition of reveals from movies being released in toy marketing, it apparently looks like we are going to get at least a first glimpse of Franklin Richards, the mutant, of course, who makes Galactus his own personal bitch. So this comes to us from the folks over at Superhero Hype, showing us the new line of the Funko Pops. Of course, there we see a couple of versions of Ben Grimm. I like him in the overcoat. I do like that. We got our Silver Surfer. We got our Johnny Storm. Interesting they don't have a Johnny Storm without flame on. So I'm sure we'll get one of those. But of course, the topic of conversation is the little wee baby in his Fantastic Four colored jammies. Franklin Richards, arguably maybe a top 5 most powerful being in all of Marvel Comics. Who literally as a child can create universes, you know, just on a whim. Yeah, he's that bad of a man. Again, this is a bit surprising to me because I thought they would save the birth of Franklin Richards for another film, but apparently he's here. And now I have to wonder if some of the theories that were being posted around online about the movie itself. You know, some people theorize that maybe Galactus sensed Franklin Richards and is coming for him, like being that powerful. I mean, I kind of dismissed those theories because I didn't even think we'd see Franklin in this. Now I have to wonder if there might be a little bit something to that. Anyway, again, this is also the next evolution or the next step or the next revelation of something from movies being revealed in toys. I mean, it's a tough thing for toy companies. It is. Literally, toy companies. Now, remember, my wife used to be an exec over at Hasbro, and one of her very first jobs, one of her first things she had to do when she started running certain lines at Hasbro I think it was in like her first month. She had to travel to Skywalker Ranch. And I think it was the second movie. I think it was Attack of the Clones. Or it might have been, no, I think it was the third film, Revenge of the Sith. Where like a year before that movie came out, she had to go with a team from Hasbro, because they were going to be making the toys. And they had to go to Skywalker Ranch. And they had to show her everything. They showed her all the detailed character designs. They had to walk through the plot with her. And being the professional that she is, Anne never told me a thing other than the fact that she was there and she got to see everything. But, you know, that's the process. Then they have to design the toys, because it's a long process from starting concepts of the toys to having finished deliverable product by the time the movie comes out. And that means you're going to have marketing ready. You're going to have packaging ready. You're going to have all that stuff ready to go by the time or just before the movie comes out, which is kind of why we often get images like this and we find out certain things about movies before they come. Now, it needs to be mentioned, there have been examples of this, that just because they make a toy of something doesn't 100% guarantee that something is actually in the movie. There's a great example of this, like when Justice League was coming out. There was a toy pack released of all the Justice League characters, but one of the things in that Justice League toy pack was a Lex Luthor in battle armor, along with all the other movie accurate versions of the movie. But then the movie eventually came out and there was no Lex Luthor or battle armor to be seen. So maybe Franklin's not in the movie. Maybe this is forecasting what's coming later. But again, it's just one of those things. Anyway, Chris, you see, I've got our first little picture of baby Franklin.
Yeah.
Are you surprised? Do you think this does mean he's in the movie? If so, what kind of a function do you think the baby will have in the film? I don't know. How do you see this?
I mean, Chekhov's pregnancy. I heard she was pregnant. I saw she was pregnant. There's going to be a baby at some point. I am surprised that we're going to see this in the movie. And I think this is going to fan a lot of fan theories that John Malkovich is actually their child from a different time. So I'm wondering if that's maybe something that we could see happen here, but I don't feel like this is a huge major spoiler or anything to see a baby Funko. We knew that she was pregnant. They let us know in the trailer. So it's not to the same extent as like the Groot wings. You know what I mean?
Right,
When I
yeah.
saw that, I was like, man, I wish I got to see that for the first time on screen.
Right.
But it also didn't take away that much from the movie. I feel like this is just yep, we told you she's having a baby. Here it is.
Rob, what do you think about, again, another revelation we're finding? Again, not a huge spoiler because, again, as Chris pointed out in the trailers, we know she's pregnant. That's a big deal in the trailers. And then ultimately, what function in the movie at all do you think this baby Franklin Richards plays?
Well, first of all, we did know that she was pregnant. And I think Franklin Richards is going to do what any baby does. You know, it gives you a very good reason to want to save the earth from impending doom. So to speak, and I don't mean that as a doom. I mean doom overall, not doom as an individual. But I don't think Franklin Richards, if anything, will see an inkling of him manifesting his power. It's not like he's going to have anything to do with.
Do you think we're going to get a big baby Jack sequence?
No,
where all the different powers
I don't,
are firing up.
But I think the John Malkovich thing that Chris just brought up is probably pretty accurate. I would imagine that would be something along those lines, because then we would get a taste of what Franklin Richards is going to become later.
Right.
Obviously, does this mean we're going to get a Power Pack movie? Because I would love that. I'd love to see a Power Pack movie. I love Power Pack. But the when it first came out. But I think this is exactly in line of what you would think, and especially if the next phase of Marvel after Secret Wars is going to be to bring in the mutants. They've been seeding it. Kamala Khan is a mutant. Namor's a mutant. Franklin Richards is a mutant. So it doesn't surprise me. And I think they're going to lose. I think the Fantastic Four are not going to save their Earth. It's not going to. That's why they wind up in our universe at the end, because they fail. And I think that's kind of cool. I like that. So I think that why wouldn't they? It just ups the stakes. We have to protect our son. That's why they're willing to go on a suicide mission.
Quick
so he
theory.
can grow up.
Quick question though, because I kind of think they end up losing too. But what do they lose to? Do you think their world ends because of Galactus, or does their world end as a result of an incursion happening at the end of the film?
You know what? I think it might be a combination of both or whatever. I mean, I've never been so a lot of people are upset about Shala Ball being the female Silver Surfer, and I'm like, she's from this universe. She's not Norrin Rad from our universe, so it doesn't matter. I mean, whatever happens in this universe, it ain't gonna end well.
Yeah.
At least that's how I was thinking about it. So, but I think it's kind of both, because obviously they're the ones that are going to be the incursion from a different universe. They're the ones that are going to be incurring on our universe. So it doesn't surprise me that there's a door that they're going to slam behind them because the universe ends.
As somebody in the live chat kind of pointed out, or it could be that they do save their universe from an incursion, but in order to save it, it's something that results in them having to leave their universe and they end up here.
Or it's Doom shows up and destroys their universe after they've saved it.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to pay Robert Downey Jr. $45 million to show up in a movie for 5 minutes.
Well, I don't know. You know, they might have made that 5 minutes might have been in his deal.
Might have been. I still don't think we're going to see him in Fantastic Four. I think maybe a mention in a post-credit scene, but
That's what I mean. There's going to be something.
right.
Because we're leading in. We're literally going into that as the next movie. So they've got to tee him up some way, I would imagine.
Chris, do you think the end of Thunderbolts with the post-credit scene, do you think that is going to be directly tied into what we see happening in this movie, or is this something that's going to be remaining a mystery to us even after we see Fantastic Four?
I feel like that's how the movie's either going to end or post-credit happen. I think it's not going to be the intrinsic plot point in there, or it's not going to be like the going into Act 2 or anything like that. I feel like that is, hey, we're going to end this film and have them have a joining point towards the end of it.
That makes sense. All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think of this little toy reveal that we've got with a little Franklin Richards? I mean, again, we knew she's pregnant. That's in the trailers, but I wasn't personally expecting to see the kid. Or maybe this is one of those situations where just because they made a toy, he's not in it. And what role do you think the baby's going to play in there at all? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down, let's move on to this. You won't be surprised to hear that, of course, my most anticipated film of the year, Superman, coming from James Gunn, is coming on July 11th. But you may have heard this weekend, the news came out that there are going to be early screenings of it on July 7th, 4 days before the movie opens in most theaters. And you might be able to score some of those tickets to go see it. Here's how it's happening. This is being reported over at Superhero Hype. And the way they list it is this. Amazon, as a part of its Prime Premiere program, has officially partnered with DC Studios to organize early screenings for James Gunn's Superman on July 7th. While the nitty-gritty of how to obtain passes for such early screenings is yet to come out, they will offer exclusively to be available to Amazon Prime members. The broadcast will reportedly take place 7 p.m. local time in a few U.S. cities. Subscribers who wish to catch the early Superman broadcast, it's in the theaters, can go to Prime Premiere Amazon website a week before the event. Once there, users need to locate the reserved tickets section and select a nearby theater, provided that the establishment is eligible for the program. After choosing the 7 p.m. slot on their opted theater, users will need to log in with their Amazon Prime account. So again, you have to be an Amazon Prime member, which I think a lot of people are anyway. Fans can book up to 2 tickets. So no going in there and buying 8 tickets for you and your friends. Can book up to 2 tickets per account as per the available information. After the completion of these steps, lucky users who are able to book their tickets will have to head to their selected theaters on July 7th, check-in starting at 6:15 p.m. Now, apparently, these tickets will go on sale. I've gotten 2 conflicting pieces of information. One piece of information has said these tickets will go on sale 1 month before the screening. So we'll be looking at June 7th. In this report, it's saying 1 week before the screening, you'll be able to go in and order tickets. I don't know which of those 2 are correct, so I'm just going to leave that out there. But what we do know is at some point, these tickets are going to go on sale. Now, how many theaters are going to be part of this? 8 theaters? 80 theaters? 180 theaters? Don't know yet. We don't know. It will just be, according to this report, 1 single screening at 7 p.m. of whichever time zone you're in. And you got to be an Amazon Prime member to actually go see it. And as far as we know, this is only going to be in the US. Again, that's not set in stone. It's just for the information we have right now, it's only going to be in the United States. So there's no way to guarantee you're going to be able to get these tickets. No way to guarantee it. It's just we're going to have to find out exactly when they drop, and then it's going to be one of those dreaded internet queues where we're going to have to get in line, and hopefully, like when I got my Nintendo Switch 2, get in line, wait for an hour, and hope the little magical notification comes up saying, you're next in line. And then maybe we can get them. And again, you can only get 2. But I'm going to tell you this. These are going to sell out quickly. But here's the big thing. Usually, when studios are putting out a wider thing for people to see these things early, much like Marvel did for Thunderbolts, they have a world of confidence in that movie. Because the worst thing in the world for your movie, I mean, every movie makes its biggest chunk of money opening weekend. That's when you make your biggest money. And you cannot have something that threatens your opening weekend. And if DC thought, and they could be right, they could be wrong, but if DC thought there was any chance that people were not going to receive this movie well, there is no way they would let audiences across the country see it 5 days early before opening weekend and let a negative word of mouth go around. Now, again, DC might be wrong about this, but their belief is clearly, oh yeah, people are going to love this movie. That's their belief. They could be wrong, but they clearly love this film, and they clearly think that any word of mouth coming out of these screenings is going to be positive and is going to be huge buzz and is going to increase ticket sales for opening weekend. And that is a good thing. I always say on this show, hey, studios, if you don't have any confidence in your movie, why should I? And when a studio takes steps that show they're oozing confidence in a film, that makes me feel pretty good about it. Anyway, Rob, are you surprised that they're doing these early screenings for a Superman film? What does it tell you about their confidence, and where's your anticipation level? Do you think we'll actually be able to get tickets?
Well, like you just pointed out, I mean, this to me is a big vote of confidence from the studio because they're not hiding it, you know. And once people have these tickets, the genie's out of the bottle. You can't tell these people that there's a moratorium on social media links. You know, there's no embargo for the public.
No, if the public pays money and buys these tickets, they can talk about it all they want.
And so this, to me, is a great vote of confidence from the studio. I think it's great marketing for the movie. If we can get tickets, hey, if we're Johnny on the spot, we can. You know, we have to be very diligent in getting these tickets. I would like to get these tickets. And I'm not gonna lie, I really want to see this movie too. But I'm excited. I mean, this just the more we get closer to this movie. So I don't understand not being excited for this. I mean, you know, James Gunn made Slither, he made Super, you know, he made The Suicide Squad, he made 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He wrote Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, a movie I was primed to hate more than any other movie ever made in history, and I liked it. So why wouldn't I be excited for a James Gunn Superman extravaganza that has Maxwell Lord, the Justice League, and Mr. Terrific? I mean, come on, man. Crypto, the Fortress, Superman robots. What
ninjas?
What is not to love?
Ninjas, dinosaurs.
Ninjas have not been confirmed.
Although the one
Ultraman's kind of a ninja.
Yeah, I know, sort of. Ultraman, yeah, he looks like Storm Shadow.
That truly is Ultraman from Earth 3. I mean, come on, the crime syndicate, that makes it even better.
Now, there's one big drawback for this early screening. Oh, every spoiler is going to be out there.
No, it's going to suck here. It's going to suck for me to be blocking all these idiots spoiling every day leading up.
Because now you're not talking about like 50, 100 like journalists who see it. You're talking about probably 10, 15,000 movie fans are going to get to seeing this, maybe more.
God help us if a Snyder bro gets in.
Oh my God. Anyway, Chris, you hear about this smart move, premature move on their part. How many theaters do you think they're going to do this in? How wide is this? I don't know. What's your overall take on this?
I think it's such a smart move, and I keep trying to go online and try to figure out exactly what the situation is, right? I want the confirmed, this is how you get the tickets, this is where you go, because I want this. I'm assuming they are going to cast a fairly wide net with this as well, and I think it's a really smart move overall, just because, you know, we've still had this kind of, do we trust the DC movies from kind of our movie-going audience? Is it worthwhile for me to go see it in a theater? Do I wait till it's on streaming? And I think a lot of people who maybe were on the fence will get pushed over once we hear that really great word of mouth, if we get that. Right? People who are, oh, I'll just see it once it's on HBO Max. I don't really care that much about seeing it in theaters. I'm assuming they're doing something like this so they cast this wide net of people going, bro, you gotta go see this in theaters. You gotta go see this on IMAX. Come on. And I think it's a really smart move that shows a lot of confidence in this film. I can't wait, and I better get into one of these screenings, darn it. I don't care what I gotta do.
Yeah, I mean,
bribe someone.
you got the engineer from The Authority in this movie. Maybe we'll get a Midnighter and Apollo cameo. Who knows?
There's a lot of possibilities. I'm so excited for this movie. I cannot wait. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? They're going to be showing thousands and thousands of paying fans this movie 5 days before it comes out in theaters. To me, that is a stark vote of confidence that the studio has in this film, because they don't want negative word of mouth. So clearly they don't think they're going to get negative word of mouth. But maybe they're wrong. Maybe they think it's awesome and it stinks. Anyway, are you going to try to get tickets for this? I know I certainly will. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's go over and touch on this, shall we? You know, when they did Chairapalooza, and Marvel did the live stream showing just chair after chair after chair for 7 hours.
That was the best day of my life.
One of the stupidest things Marvel's ever done. Of course,
we're still talking about it.
Yeah, we're still talking about it. I mean, we'd have been talking about it a lot more if they had done something better.
But I hear they're releasing that in theaters.
Yeah, they're going to release it in theaters. The extended cut.
Uh-huh.
One of the things, though, that was very noticeable by its absence was any chair for Tom Holland. Spider-Man is now that, especially that Cap is gone, Tony's gone, whatever. Spider-Man's their most popular IP. And he's not there on the chair. Now, there are going to be more names announced later on, granted. But now we might know why. Because according to reports going around that seem to originate with Daniel RPK, they still don't have a contract with Tom Holland to appear in this movie. This is the social media post that Marvel Studios reportedly wants Tom Holland's Spider-Man to appear in Avengers Doomsday, but the studio still hasn't closed a deal. Now it says here, the studio still hasn't closed a deal with Sony. From what I understand, that is not true. From what I understand, that they do have a deal with Sony. They don't have a deal with Tom Holland yet. Now, which is interesting because they're already shooting this movie. The movie's been shot, or has been shooting for a little while. What this tells me is that even if he does appear in this movie, it ain't going to be much. And it must not be super consequential. Because you can't, if you have somebody who is an important character in the movie that took you a year to write and all this kind of stuff, you can't you can't start shooting that movie when you don't even know if you've got this person appearing or not. You can't do it. So, like some people say, oh, just replace it with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Oh, you want to go back and rewrite the script, and you're not going to get Andrew Garfield Spider-Man in this. So I think this tells us a couple things, because there are other reports that have been going around this weekend saying that Marvel wants to have him appear in it. But again, it must be for just a couple of scenes and maybe something that's not all that vital to the film. I mean, we all believe he's going to probably have a big role to play in Secret Wars. That I have no doubt. But it sounds like, Rob, that it's still a little bit in doubt about whether or not he'll appear in this movie. And again, to me, it's telling me that even if he does appear in it, it's not going to be a big role and it's not going to be a major role. I don't know. How do you interpret all this?
Well, I guess it's really not that big of a deal to me because they're shooting Brand New Day, which comes out in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. So if they wanted to add something to Doomsday with Tom Holland, they could wait and shoot it during Principle of Brand New Day if they had to, because they're doing Doomsday and Secret Wars concurrently anyway. So I would imagine there'd be some synergy, but it is, I mean, even though Marvel participates, it's still an entirely different production. You know, Sony runs that show, and it might be that they just haven't. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that there's no deal in place for Tom Holland, because he's working for Sony. You know, he's Marvel adjacent in those movies, and Sony, but I don't think, because of they're shooting over a big span of time, and you've basically got all three of these giant behemoth films shooting concurrently. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, and they probably have to figure out, like, if he's not a big part of Doomsday, what's his deal? Like, literally, what is his deal? Like, how much would you pay him? Is it going to be a day rate? Does he get merchandising? It could be a huge problem. And the fact is, his deals, he doesn't make a deal with Marvel to play Spider-Man. He makes a deal with Sony.
Yeah.
And then Sony has to make a deal with Marvel. So there could be something along the lines that something is going on in there. Like, Sony might just be as simple as Sony's like, look, we have to make sure our deal with Tom Holland, and I'm sure they want to sign him to 3 movies again. You know, and he's like, nah, I'm just going to do 1.
Well, I mean, they've already got something lined up for Spider-Man 4. I mean, so you'd think they would have had this all covered by now, especially for a movie that's already been shooting for weeks.
Yeah.
I
don't know. But I think, like, you know, like the Thunderbolts post-credit scene was shot on the set of Doomsday.
Yes.
So there's always time. You know,
yeah, but
they got a
again,
year.
if it's a small
Right.
role they have for the character in the movie. Anyway, Chris, you hear this. What are the questions that come immediately to your mind? Do you think this will get settled? I mean, there's a possibility that the report may not be right. Danielle Piquet is not always right.
Yeah.
So there's that possibility as well. But what questions do you have, and what is this telling you about Spider-Man's role in the movie, if it's there at all?
Sure. The first question is this true? Is the big one. But I got to agree with most of what Rob was asking here too, is, well, what's even his involvement? How much would we even have this character in there? Is he significant to this story in any way, shape, or form, as opposed to just, oh yeah, that's Spider-Man. Good to see him in here. We love that kid. Right? Because if that's all he would be used for anyway, that's not necessary. I don't need to see Tom Holland to be reminded, oh yeah, and he will be Spider-Man again. I need him to be in this for an actual reason. And so I feel like maybe that's something that's still up for debate here. Do we need to tie in anything to his next film? Do we need to play with anything that was established in that last Spider-Man film with what happened after Doctor Strange did his thing? You know, how does he fit in here? And is that going to be a day player thing or an actual point of plot that is really pivotal to all of this? I feel like it's probably not that last one. So they're trying to see if Tom Holland is going to serve this story in any way, or rather Spider-Man's going to serve this story anyway. And if he hasn't gotten a contract yet for this film, my thought is there's no significant reason to have Spider-Man here.
The one thing that really stands out to me in this is that I think if he's not in it, there's a major missed opportunity for one of the best things about Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Dr. Doom is Spider-Man seeing Tony's face. But instead of this time on the father figure and the protector of the world's greatest threat now. I think that's a moment that needs to be on screen. And you can make the argument that maybe that moment can come in Secret Wars. Yeah, maybe that can happen. But I just think it would be a really big missed opportunity.
I think we're going to get that moment.
Yeah.
In some way.
But do you think we're going to get it in Doomsday, or do you think we're going to have to wait for Secret Wars?
Well, yeah, I mean, because they're making that movie, they're making his movie right after Doomsday. I would say that if anything, it'd be a post-credit scene,
right,
or something that would lead, like, you know, it's like the end of Infinity War. You don't see Sam Jackson, you don't see Nick Fury until the post-credit scene when he's with Colby Smulders. You see them in New York, and they don't know what's happened. You know, what happened in Wakanda. They don't know. Mm-hmm. They're looking around. They go, "What?" And I thought that was a great way. I would imagine that Doomsday would end with a Spider-Man post-credit scene like that.
That's really nice. I like that a lot.
That was a great post-credit scene where you got to jump to a different part of the world and see what happened with a character we love. So I could see something like that happening. You know, and by the way, no one knows who Peter Parker is. So how would they even get in touch with Spider-Man? They don't even know where he is.
Right. Well, Spider-Man can come to them. All right. They just don't know Spider-Man is Peter Parker. That's it.
Right.
They all know Spider-Man. They all remember Spider-Man. They just don't know he's Peter Parker.
The galactic threat will need to be broadcast in a way, though, that he would be able to then go, I'm going to take myself over to Avengers Campus or wherever and insert myself into this.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you make of this? According to some reports, even though the movie has already been shooting for weeks, there is no signed deal, again, according to these reports that we're relying on, that Tom Holland's even going to appear, even though they would like him to appear in it. If this is all the case, what does that tell you about how big or not big the role they even want him in there is? Do you expect that we're going to see him in Secret Wars regardless? If he is in the movie, what kind of role do you see him playing? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it is time for us to bid adieu to, of course, Chris Carr and Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always, guys. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, now it's time for the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take another quick moment here and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Stitch Fix. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Stitch Fix. Guys, you know I love movies, but you also know I have absolutely no fashion sense, and I absolutely hate shopping for my clothes. But thankfully, I have found a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. With Stitch Fix, I get a stylist who understands my style, size, and budget, and they do all the shopping for me. Because look, shopping and figuring out style can be overwhelming, especially for somebody like me. When it comes to getting dressed, I don't even know where to start, to be honest. That's why I love having a Stitch Fix stylist. They really know what works for me. I get pieces that make me look great, and it's a real confidence boost. You just give your stylist your size, style, and budget preferences. You get to order boxes when you want and how you want, no subscription required. They send you personalized pieces, and the fit is always on point. No stores, no crowds, no stress. Just personalized looks that you will love. So guys, make style easy. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Campea. That's stitchfix.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Stitch Fix for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to your comments and questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
First up is Yelena likes my hat. Happy birthday to Shep. Still miss his enthusiasm for movies and comics. Also, congrats to Dr. Ann Campea.
Oh, thank you for that very much. And yeah, I mean, for those of you who follow me on social media, this past week was John Schnepp's, would have been his birthday. I mean, every year that goes by, we're coming up this summer, we'll mark, again, the anniversary of his passing. Again, he is in this relatively young space, right? Because you look at how long newspapers and television and all that kind of stuff has been around. The internet film punditry space is still a relatively young thing, right? But John Schnepp was the best of us. He was affectionately known by a lot of people as the king of the sweaties. Just we miss him every year. All right, what's next?
We got Mike Richetto who says, happy Friday, Campea crew.
Of course, this came in the other day.
Or he's very confused. Fun fact, MI Final Reckoning has the same runtime as John Wick 4 at 2:49. Disappointed to hear from reviews MI has pacing issues, while John Wick 4 was able to maintain momentum action for that long. Makes me appreciate Wick even more.
Well, remember, you can have a movie that's 90 minutes long that has pacing issues, right? Pacing is not necessarily a matter of the length of your film. You can have a film that feels very quick at 3 hours. You can have a film that feels very dragged out at 90 minutes. I mean, so it's kind of independent of that. And by the way, I mean, while there are reports, as I look this up, there are reports of Mission Impossible maybe having some pacing issues, and there's less action in it than a lot of people thought. But as of right now, it still has an 81%. Right? It's with 170 reviews. It still has a very solid 81%. Just don't expect, from what we're understanding, to go and seeing the best Mission Impossible movie, but everybody still says it's still good. So I'm looking forward to watching it. All right, what's next?
Garden Variety says, again, Ryan at Screen Crush crushed it with his point-by-point analysis of Andor, episodes 9 through 12. Any lover of the John Campea Show and Andor will appreciate his hard work.
Oh, yeah. Seriously, I really do appreciate. That's one of the movie-related channels that I watch a lot of. Screen Crush does just a fabulous job of breaking down the stuff. I also like his dog because I am a dog guy, so that's always a good thing, too. But they always do a really good job. All right, what's next?
We got Blake, who says, John Williams has so many iconic themes, but the Superman one still stands as his crowning achievement, in my opinion. Nothing captures a character or vibe of a character like that. It's used to perfection in that trailer also.
I disagree. To me, that's still Empire. Like the Imperial March is still to me. But, you know, Ann and I have been going to the John Williams in concert thing for over 10 years. And while he does not do it every year, each year that he plays the Superman song, other than the Imperial March, gets the biggest pop from the audience. Like everything will be quiet. He'll be standing there, then arms will start to move, and you'll hear that single horn. Bum, 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 bum. And then the audience loses their minds. I mean, seriously, it is one of the greatest theme pieces ever in movie history, is that Superman score. It's so good. All right, what's next?
Just curious says, hey, John, comicbookmovie.com just posted the F4 Funko Pops were leaked, and one of them is a little Franklin Richards. I have a feeling he might be in the first steps in the title, or the first steps, what's the title?
I doubt, I still, because even if we do get Franklin, as we were talking about earlier, I don't think he's going to be walking yet. So I don't know if that's going to be the first steps, but maybe yes, maybe no.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Fairly good time jump if that's the case.
Yeah.
Garden Variety says April V. Woods as young Clea in Andor is an actor to watch. She has a strong career ahead of her. Amazing job.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And listen, all the performances, much like Last of Us, part of the reason that Andor is the absolute masterpiece that it is because the performances were all top-notch. All top-notch. From Clea, the agents, obviously Skarsgård, the leads. I mean, it's just the performances were all top shelf. All right, what's next?
We got Joe Adonis who says, hi, John, Rob, and Ray. Happy belated birthday, Rob. And today I'm celebrating my birthday with Megan Fox at 39, Pierce Brosnan at 72, Danny Trejo at 81, and the big guy himself, John Schnepp. Happy birthday to us.
You know what's funny? The last couple of shows, I meant on Friday to bring up Rob's birthday, and I thought about it all day, and then we did the show, and I get so caught up in doing the show that I forgot, and I forgot to do it again today. Anyway, yes. Pierce Brosnan, by the way, his show right now, I think it's called Mobland. Is that the news that he's doing with Tom Hardy?
Right.
So good. So good. I mean, it's not Last of Us Andor, but it's really good. If you're not watching it, Pierce Brosnan, this is the best I've seen Pierce Brosnan in a long time. As like the head of this Irish mafia family. It's make sure you're watching it. It's really excellent. All right, what's next?
We got Abraham who says the Hunger Games casting director is on a streak. They just announced Ray Fiennes as President Snow for the new Hunger Games movie prequel. I love all the casting they have announced so far.
Yeah, there's been a lot of casting announcements. Again, at CinemaCon, they did a pretty good presentation for they were making this new Hunger Games stuff and bringing the director back and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, all the casting announcements have all been pretty solid. I mean, they're not skimping on the cast they're getting. They're getting a world-class cast together. And of course, Ray Fiennes is the greatest actor in the world who doesn't have an Oscar on his mantle right now. So everything's looking good so far. Look, I'd be lying to you if I told you I was super excited for another Hunger Games. I didn't think the Hunger Games Chutes and Ladders movie they just had like last year or 2 years ago, I think it was bad, but I didn't think it was all that good either. It was okay. It was all right. But still, they're doing a great job with the casting so far. All right, what's next?
Abraham says, yesterday I saw the new Final Destination movie and hated it. Not because it was bad, because it gave me the paranoia the other 5 movies gave me as a kid. Stay out of tanning booths. It was a bad idea to catch the last IMAX showing and go to bed right after.
Again, for me, like a good horror movie can make you feel unsettled all the rest of the day. But as much fun as I had with Final Destination, that's not what I walked out of the theater with. I walked out of the theater with a big smile on my face and like adrenaline pumping. I just thought it was really fun. So, I mean, that's not what they're really, they're hoping to get you thinking about, like everything everywhere can kill you, right? That's kind of like the underlying theme that everything everywhere can kill you. But again, the way they did it in the movie, for me, I just walked out with a big smile on my face. I had a great time with it. All right, what's next?
Nelson with the $20 tip.
Oh, thank you, Nelson. Appreciate that, man.
I finished The Day of the Jackal yesterday. What a great action show. Hesitated to watch it, but followed your recommendation. Thanks. Great. There's going to be a season 2. Greetings from Costa Rica.
Probably, as far as television shows go from the last year, my most pleasantly surprised show of the year was Day of the Jackal. I mean, it looked good. You had a great cast, and I like the basic story of it, but I wasn't expecting it to be fantastic. And as they joked about at the Golden Globes, it's like more people have seen real peacocks than watched the network Peacock. And that's one of the things, like I'm telling you, I think Ray, you mentioned once, if this show had been on HBO, more people would be talking about it. And I think you're right. I think if Jackal had been an HBO show or Apple TV Plus, everybody would be talking about it. But because it was on Peacock, nobody talked about it. And which is really too bad because it's really good.
And it really makes me wonder, like, because it's the same creator as Mobland, which is not on Peacock.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was the same showrunner.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, I love this guy now.
And I hate to hijack this, but did you end up watching Murderbot?
I never did.
Okay.
That's on Apple.
Yeah.
That's next.
But that's also on
list.
Apple.
Yeah.
And is it? I know the trailer. Is it out now? Is it?
Yeah, 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But the bad thing is, I rewatched it like 3 times, the 2 episodes, because they're so short. They're like
they're short.
They're like 27 minutes each.
Oh wow.
It's like it's gonna piss me off. I gotta wait until it gets at least like 4 episodes, and then I'll watch them all together. And that's what Andor does to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, having having proper length episodes. Anyway, all right. What's next?
We got Trevor Summers, who says the new Superman trailer. Wow, the line "Hey buddy, eyes up here" will get printed on a T-shirt for my wife, and she'll have no idea what it's referencing, but I'll know.
Again, we talked a lot, but I love the trailer. I've probably watched it about 50 times. I cannot put into words how excited I am for this movie. I am so set up for disappointment. If it's not so good, I'm going to be so disappointed. Again, no pressure, James, but I'm ridiculously excited for this film. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, John, who do you think would win in a battle between the Sentry or Superman? Obviously, in all good fun, since both characters seem awesome so far.
It depends. If a Marvel writer writes it, Sentry wins the fight. If a DC writer writes it, Superman wins the fight. If I'm writing it, Superman wins the fight.
Yeah. And me being a Sentry fan,
I'm surprised you say that.
Superman has to take it.
Yeah,
he's just a good person. I mean, I would like to see him win that fight.
But how does Superman overcome like telepathy?
The voice, he'll find a way.
Whatever.
His heart will get him past.
Yeah, there's something about his Kryptonian DNA that doesn't make him susceptible. I mean, again, it's just, if I'm writing it, it all depends on who's writing it. But if it was me writing it, it would be a battle for the ages, but Superman wins.
And Superman won't come out the same. I'll only say that.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, writing this on a Friday, so future John, depending on how Game 7 went, didn't go great. If they want
Did not go well.
Yeah, on a scale of 0 to Superman, how much hope do you have they make the finals? Well, we already know where it's at, so.
Yeah, the Toronto Maple Leafs lost in Game 7 last night. They're out. But listen, I said, I told the guys, when they won the first round of the playoffs, which has hardly ever happened in my lifetime. That's not an exaggeration. I think I can count on one hand the number of playoff rounds they've won in my lifetime. That might not be an exaggeration. Anyway, when I found out they were playing the Florida Panthers in round 2, I said, and I'm the biggest Maple Leafs dude, I said, they cannot win this series. They're not ready to beat the defending Stanley Cup champions in the Florida Panthers. They're just not ready yet. If you had, and Jonathan and I were talking about before the show started, I said, if you went back 2 months ago and said the Leafs will in the playoffs and they win the first round against the Ottawa Senators and then they play the defending Stanley Cup champions and they take them to 7 games. I would have been thrilled. Now, it stings that they were winning the series 2-0. That stings. And it stings that they lost in game 7 at home 6-1. That stings. But again, if you had told me a month and a half ago that they'd win the first round and then take the defending Stanley Cup champions to 7 games, I would take it. And I'm proud of the team. I'm proud of the guys. And I think next year they're going to be even better. I think they're going to be an even better team next year. So it's all good.
Obvious to say, like a 7-game series is a lot harder than a one like the Super Bowl, right? Like it's a going the ups and downs, obviously, right?
7-game series is always tougher.
And there's a lot of them, a lot of series you got to get. And I mean, let's face it, they got further than Lakers got in the playoffs.
Yes, they did.
You know.
All right, what's next?
All right. Garden Variety says Tyler Hoechlin of on Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was great. Talks about getting role of Superman and much more.
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing yet, but while I was perusing before bed last night, I was perusing through YouTube, and I saw that he was the next guest on Inside of You. By the way, that Michael Rosenbaum podcast, Michael Rosenbaum, the star of True Noir, Robert Meyer Burnett's newest project. He does a great job. Michael Rosenbaum does a great job. It's a wonderful podcast. I love his conversations with these people, and I love the types of people he brings on the show. So I haven't watched it yet, but I saw that it was there, and I'm definitely going to tune in the next day or two.
Well, yeah. Well, speaking of Rosenbaum and True Noir, Garden Variety follows up and says, I failed to add that Tyler Hoechlin piece, Rosenbaum called out True Noir and the winter and the writer.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, good for that's great. I'll make sure I'll check that out. All right, I think there was another one.
Yeah,
from
there
Garden
is.
Variety. Yeah, okay.
I just figured that apply a little quicker. So Garden Variety now says baseball is copying the movie industry. The Yankees are selling a pretty boss popcorn container of Yankee Stadium. I saw that.
Oh, I'm not surprised. I mean, every stadium should be doing that.
Yeah, really.
It just makes sense to have a collectible popcorn thing in the shape of your stadium.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That'd be really great. Oh my God, Las Vegas is too bad they don't have a baseball team playing in where the Raiders play at Allegiant Stadium, but that would make a great popcorn bucket.
Do we know if that's all season long or just limited that day?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
You know what? If it's making the money, they'll do it all season long, man.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Dookie Shoes says, hey, y'all, just recently watched The Nice Guys. And while I know it didn't make much at the box office, do you think there's a chance for a sequel movie?
0.
Yeah, our mini-series with the cult following as now. The chemistry between Gosling and Crow is too rich. 0.
Look, there are many, many, many examples of it, but I always go to The Nice Guys as the kind of poster child for this whole thing about all these supposed big movie fans who think they sound smart when they go, Hollywood doesn't make original films anymore. Yes, they fucking do. You're just stupid. They make more original films today. It's a statistical fact. They make more original films today than in any other time in human history. More original films are made today than any other time in history. They make tons of original films. You just don't go see them. And The Nice Guys is a great example of that. Shane Black made an amazing movie that's purely original, had great stars in it with Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, who had fantastic chemistry together on it. And the movie is a banger. It's great. It had really good marketing, and just nobody went to go see it.
Yeah.
Nobody went to go see it. And that's just an example. And unfortunately, that is not unusual for most original films that get made. So while everybody cries, oh, Hollywood doesn't make original films anymore, you're making yourself sound stupid because, yes, they do. You just don't go see them. And look, while I would love nothing better than tomorrow morning come on the show and say, oh my God, they just announced they're doing Nice Guys 2. I would love it. It's never going to happen because nobody went to go see it. I hope they do. I'd love to be wrong about this, but I don't think they're ever going to do it, which sucks because I would love to see them.
Unless it's like some weird Amazon deal thing.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
We just read that one. So Essa says, hey, John and crew, first time writing in. Know you have how you feel about prequels, but would you be interested in a miniseries revolving around Thanos' rise to power on his home planet of Titan?
Nope. No interest. I mean, don't get me, listen, if Marvel made it and it was coming out on Disney Plus and it was there, would I watch it? Oh, yeah, I'd watch it. Of course I would. Do I have any part of me is like, oh, I hope they do that?
No.
It's a great character. His story was told. We don't need to retread it again.
It's going to be called Planos of Thanos.
Planos of Thanos.
I don't know.
There you go. You got your marketing campaign already.
There you go, Marvel.
It's ready to go.
It's going to be on the Galavision on the Spanish channel.
On the Spanish. All right, what's next?
Joey, Disney's live action Aladdin grossed $1 billion, 0.097. Beauty and the Beast grossed 1.3 billion. Lion King is the highest at 1.6. Do you think Lilo and Stitch has a chance of beating any of these?
I think Lilo and Stitch definitely has the potential to be $1 billion film.
Could beat Aladdin for sure, and then from there, who knows?
I mean, I wouldn't say for sure.
I think it gets over.
I don't think it's guaranteed that it makes $1 billion. I mean, I guarantee it's going to make a ton of money. It's going to make a ton of money. But will it join the $1 billion club? I think it has very strong potential to do it. I wouldn't say it's a lock. So will it catch like Lion King? I don't think there's any chance of that. Like 1.6 is a lot. But Aladdin definitely could. And the Beauty and the Beast is possible. So I think it's got a chance. I really do. All right, what's next?
We got Semi Blade Script says, I visited the Chinese theater for the first time. That's awesome.
Oh, nice.
On my vacation this past week. Saw Thunderbolts. The theater was incredible. So awesome to see all the memorabilia there. Do you guys have a favorite memory associated with the Chinese theater that stands out?
Well, I mean, for those of you who watch my show regularly, you know what mine is. When I got to go to the world premiere of one of the Star Wars movies, and it was a bucket list. It's a moment I'll never forget, because you got to remember the original Star Wars movie premiered in that theater. And then there I was, and Ann was just always laughing at me all night, because all night I was just like in this cloud, because I'm here at the Chinese theater where the original Star Wars movie debuted, and I'm in the same theater for the debut of a new Star Wars movie. And I've got George Lucas sitting about 3 rows ahead and 5 seats over, and Steven Spielberg and George Lucas sitting there together right over there. And Anne literally bumped into Frank Oz as we were in line coming in. I mean, so to sit there and I've never felt history the way I felt history in that moment, in that Chinese theater where Star Wars debuted, and I was there for the premiere of a new one. Obviously that's always going to be with me. I'm going to carry that experience forever.
Yeah. That was much like my experience for the Phantom Menace and saving 17 seats. I look on that day with fondness.
Wait, was that at the Chinese theater as well?
Yeah.
But it wasn't for the premiere.
And it was for Phantom Menace.
How did you save 17 seats?
Yeah. And it was for Phantom Menace, but not the premiere of it.
Oh, thank God it was.
This is obviously before they had pre-assigned seating.
And it wasn't the stadium seating that it is now. It was
that's
the
right,
original.
since they renovated.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Obelisk the Tormentor. I feel like they restored HBO to Max just to drop 3 letters again later. Just picture it. House of the Dragon exclusively on Hacks. Nah, that doesn't work. How about Box? No, that's a euphemism. I got it. Backs. That's the winner. Yes. I'm a little drunk.
Yeah, again, we relentlessly and savagely mocked Warner Brothers when they changed the name to just Max. And rightfully so. It was a stupid move. We said it at the time. I will continue. It was an absolutely stupid move. At some point, I'll need to have the chance. I'll probably never get the chance, but I would love to meet David Zaslav and just not mock him, just ask him, what was the thinking behind that? You have the most celebrated, respected name in entertainment in HBO. Why would you drop that from your branding? Like, I gotta ask, what the holy fuck were you thinking?
Listen, when you
I
have
know his answer.
When you have a,
he's not going to say anything. He's just going to go. He's going to go like this. He's going to get that axe from his.
Yeah.
Get the have it fly to his hand like Stormbreaker.
When you have your moment with Destiny, you don't look back.
It's our moment with Destiny. I'll never understand. So they're getting made fun of for changing it back to HBO Max, and they deserve it, but it is the right move. You gotta have the HBO name in there again, because it is what it is. It is HBO. So it was the right move. Anyway. All right. What's next?
Silver the Executive says, I saw a discussion on Reddit. That's your first mistake, suggesting that no movie will be or have as much hype anticipation as Avengers Endgame did. I was only 3 when the Phantom Menace released, but surely that had more hype going in. How would you compare the two? I feel like Phantom Menace had more hype than Endgame.
As somebody who has experienced and been through both, Phantom Menace had more hype.
Yeah.
Look, you are talking about the two best examples with Avengers Endgame and the Phantom Menace, but I mean, Star Wars is the preeminent, greatest, most celebrated, most pop culturally referenced movie IP in history, and it had been gone forever, and this was the first time in a generation that a new one was coming. Now, it turned out to be a bag of shit, but the hype going into it, there never was and there never will be anything like it. Endgame comes close, but it's still the Phantom Menace. It was still the Phantom Menace.
And for me, I hadn't watched any Star Wars at that moment. Phantom Menace was like my first Star Wars film, and I was even hyped for it. So, I mean,
I remember literally when tickets were going on sale, in winter conditions, people lined up 3 days in advance. For some people, a week or two in advance, literally brought their lawn chair, little umbrella, and a cooler.
Oh, yeah.
And sat on a sidewalk in front of a movie theater for weeks.
Boy, were they angry.
Be there to buy a ticket for the Phantom Menace. We've never seen anything like it. I don't think there will ever be anything like it again.
Never.
They're still sunburnt.
Yeah, and they still have their sunburns or frostbite, depending on where they were.
That's true.
All right, what's next?
We got Mega Ultra Chicken. Dumbest criticism I've read about the Superman trailer. Why are they using the old theme instead of a new one? Maybe they have a point. Using old themes, samples, and motifs didn't work for Indiana Jones, Harry Potter, Star Wars, or James Bond. Oh, wait.
Listen, I'll tell you. Do I think they should be? Do I think they should be using a new theme? I do. But as somebody who thinks they should be using a new theme, I can't deny the epicness of how it felt just to hear those dun 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 tones playing.
It gets people emotional.
It gets you. It does. It's literally elicits an emotional response. So yeah, I'm one of the people who thinks they should use a new theme. But I can't deny it has a tremendous effect, and people are loving it.
Yeah, and James Gunn, I don't think has. I remember any of his movies with for its original theme. He does a lot of old music, right? Like a lot of old music.
Oh, tons of old music. Yeah. But to be fair, like Guardians of the Galaxy, there wasn't an older Guardians of the Galaxy to borrow the music from.
Right.
There wasn't an older Slither to borrow the music from. But I mean, if you're gonna do it, this is a good one to do it with. But yeah, it seems to be working. All right, what's next?
Joel says, just finished the Game of Thrones show. Have you guys heard of that? And wow, excellent. I'm sad and feeling conflicted. What a great show, man. Who do you think would have won in a fight, Jon or Grey Worm, the Unsullied army leader? Also, I thought the Night King was going to make it to King's Landing.
Almost did.
I think skill-wise, probably the Unsullied guy, but they would have never written that. They would have written Jon Snow winning.
Yeah, but well, obviously Jon Snow was also brought back from the dead. There's a little bit of divine touch on Jon Snow. So ultimately, with his Valyrian steel, eventually and ultimately Jon Snow would win. But of course, the eunuch Unsullied guy was a more skilled. He was a professional soldier. That's all he did was fight.
He goes on patrol. He talks about patrol.
His girlfriends die.
Aww.
I was going to say something else, but I decided not to.
Oh, no, I think I know what you were going to say. Moving on.
Moving on.
Anonymous says, hey, John, 2 months ago, I predicted that Superman will get more money than Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four combined. You didn't agree. Now with Thunderbolts, we'll finish around 400 million. Fantastic Four does not look much bigger. Do you still think it's possible?
Yeah, Superman's not. Listen, once Fantastic Four is done, and let's say it makes around $500-600 million, you're talking about a combined thing of close to $1 billion. And I don't think Superman makes $1 billion. Everybody just wants to pretend like all the negative baggage that's coming along with DC right now doesn't exist, and it does. To the average film fan, There's still a lot of average film fans who don't trust the DC brand, even though this is a brand new brand and they're going to have to rehabilitate their image. There's just a lot of baggage that comes along with it. So no, I don't see Superman making $1 billion. And when it's all said and done, when you combine Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts, it's going to be around $1 billion. And so I don't see. Now, can it? Of course it can. Anything is possible, right? Lightning could strike. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's impossible, but it is unlikely. So that I'll put it that way. I don't think it's impossible. Nothing's impossible, but it is, I believe, unlikely. All right, what's next?
Katniss' boyfriend is here. When I was a kid and into my teens, I used to be so excited to go to my local movie rental store on Friday nights and find movies to watch for the weekend. So much has changed now, with streaming becoming the dominant film medium and theaters maybe second.
It is difficult. It is. Look, there are so many things today that are so much better than the old going to the video store days. But I'm not going to lie, I also kind of miss the video store days. Mm-hmm. There was something fun about taking your girlfriend or a bunch of your buddies and going and finding a couple of movies to rent for the night. I mean, and we used to plan our nights around it, right? Me and some of my buddies would just like, yeah, let's grab something to eat, we'll order some food, and let's go over to the Rogers Video for, if you were in the US, it was probably Blockbuster. You walk up and down the aisles and you're like, let's pick this one. You debate about which one to get. And you get those movies and get some excitement driving back home. Like, it's much easier today, and in many ways much better today. But I'm not going to lie, there's a part of that socially that I kind of miss that.
And you actually finished all the movies because you had that due date, right?
Because you paid for it.
Streaming, sometimes you pause on a show or a movie and then you never get back to it. I mean, at least you're all doing it together, watching it together, and actually finishing the.
Yeah, again, it was the social aspect.
It was a great time.
That I really
It was
miss.
a great era.
Yep. All right, what's next?
Gus's gas station fart says, "Hi John, I'm a big fan of your show and I always look forward to watching some of it most days. Some topics I don't agree with you on 100%.
Well,
but
we shouldn't.
No, and a lot of topics I do. Also, it's educational. Thanks for all the time and effort you put into the show."
Oh, thank you for that, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and listen, 100%. You should not agree with me every time. Films are subjective. They hit us all in different ways. That means movies are going to hit you differently than they hit me. Sometimes similar, sometimes dissimilar. But I mean, they're going to hit us in different ways. So if you appreciate that and understand that, you should not agree with me 100% of the time. Absolutely not. My favorite film critic of all time was Roger Ebert. Because he had just a great way of communication. His communication, his articulation was like one of the best ever to do it in the business. And I disagreed with him and his takes on movies at least half the time. But he was my favorite guy because I love the way he articulated his view of a movie, even if it was a different view than mine. Right? So this is something that I always say in my show. And this is a lesson I think a lot of other YouTubers need to learn. Because a lot of YouTubers, I'm not just talking about the movie space, I'm talking music space, tech space, clothing space, influencer space, all the spaces. Too many YouTubers just make it their first priority to say things they think their viewers will agree with. And I certainly don't. Because this is what I always say. My job is not to say things you agree with. My other job is also not to get you to agree with me. See, that's the other thing that a lot of YouTubers do. They think they got to convince their audience to agree with them. No, I want us to have different opinions. I want us to have different points of view when it comes to the art and storytelling and all that kind of stuff. So I hope people don't watch me just because they agree with me all the time, because that's not the point. The point is to have great discussion and to hear different points of view and stuff like that. Now, when I say all that kind of stuff, racism is not a point of view.
Right.
Right?
It's not a pushback.
Prejudice
it's not a point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing artistic about you being an asshole. But we're talking about the artistic merits of storytelling and film. That's going to hit us all in different ways. And I love for us to disagree on that stuff. It's great. So I will never that's why I say a lot of stuff that's not very popular. I will always just be honest and tell you how I see it. And hopefully that, I've always said this on the show. My main job is to express my opinion in such a way that it helps you more clearly define why you agree with me or helps you more clearly define why you disagree with me. If either of those things happen, then I've done my job. If I don't do that, then I haven't done my job. Anyway, thank you for the kind words, man. It's appreciated. All right, what's next?
We got a Blue Bantha milk addict here and says, I'm not a passionate Andor fan, but I agree it has superb dialogue. Imagine if Andor asked Bix, are you an angel?
Oh my God.
Or said to her, I don't like sand. It's coarse and irritating. It gets everywhere. Not like here. Here everything's soft and smooth.
Oh, God.
That's a neat trick. Bloop.
We'll try spinning. Piusa. I listen, I just finished saying, all art is subjective and hits us in different ways. And God bless people who like the prequels. God bless. I love it. I love people loving the movies they watch, even if it's stuff I don't like. And I don't have to understand it. And I certainly do not understand it.
Look, I watched all of them multiple times, so it's not like I didn't,
I've seen all of them at least 20 times. I will never understand people liking the prequels. And that's okay. I don't need to understand it to respect it. And I respect it. And I think I love that people love movies, even if it's movies I don't like. But I will never understand it. I will never understand. No, I'll never understand.
How many times do you think Anakin made a boo-boo in that pod race?
Oh, shit.
What was the line? I love that line Cyril said. He's like, did he say, would it be too early for me to say this is the greatest moment of my life? Or would it,
Is it premature to say this is the great, or is it inappropriate to say this is the greatest moment of my life? The writing in Andor was so good.
Was that from the finale?
No. Is that,
Okay,
No,
let's
no,
not have 3 more episodes.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, we know the new Highlander movie will probably be looking for a new soundtrack. I would honestly go with Muse. Hey, man, I've been saying that for months. They are one of the biggest stadium bands in the world, and Matt Bellamy can hit all the notes. He was married to Kate Hudson.
You know what? I have heard whispers
and rumors
that they may actually be using the original Queen soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
Which to me is a great idea. I mean, that movie's so old, and so many people have never watched the original
That
Highlander.
could give it a really cool vibe with the original Queen soundtrack.
But I mean, like, when I think of Highlander, I
Yeah.
think of Here We Are,
Oh, man.
Born to Be Kings, or Who Wants to Live Forever.
Yeah.
Like, how perfect is that for the Highlander?
Look, there's no world where you're going to be like, skip on Freddie Mercury. I mean, come on.
Yeah, so I hope they do. I hope they keep the original soundtrack. All right, what's next?
Willoughby Sting. Years ago, I watched Before Sunrise. I really wanted to go to Vienna as a result. Finally going next month. We'll also visit Salzburg. I've been there. As my wife likes Sound of Music. Have you wanted to visit a place after seeing a movie for the first time?
Oh, yeah, many times.
Yeah.
Many times. I mean, one of the biggest ones, even though it's not supposed to be New Zealand, but after you watch Lord of the Rings, who doesn't want to go visit New Zealand?
Of course.
After you see Lord of the Rings. I mean, that's one of the biggest ones to me, for absolutely, for sure.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
Ray with a $20 tip.
Thank you, Ray.
It says, hey, John, I read on Facebook an early screening for Superman on July 7th.
Yep.
For Amazon Prime members. Have you heard anything like this? And do you think there's any truth to it?
Oh, I believe it's completely legit. As far as I can tell, it's completely legit. This isn't new. They've done stuff like this before. Again, now we just I just don't know exactly when they go on sale. Like I've read 2 conflicting pieces of information. One said 1 month before the event. One said 1 week before the event. And once I know, if any of you guys know for sure, please feel free to write in and let me know. But once I know, I'll let you guys know. All right, what's next?
Indiana Solis' question, what would you do? I have a DVD set of the original Star Wars trilogy with the original theatrical version and the latter modified ones. Would you watch the originals whenever you rewatch, or probably preserve the discs by watching Disney Plus? If there's a way, because I know you can't always burn some DVDs, because if you can crack it, I would just digitize those.
Yeah, 100%. Like I would honestly say, for anybody that owns physical media, considering almost no companies are left that will even build players for them and all that kind of stuff, you absolutely need to find a way to back it up, back those up. then you don't have to worry about preserving them. I mean, then once you back it up and get it on a home server, I would frickin' seal those things, get them in shrink wrap, seal them, and keep them protected at all costs. And then I would always just watch them off your streamer, off your home server, rather than playing those discs, because I would absolutely preserve those discs, man. That's just what I would do.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous says Tom Cruise attended fan screenings at AMC Lincoln Center in New York over the weekend. Do you think they still played the Nicole Kidman ad? I bet you they did. He just recently paid her like really big compliments. So
yeah, from what I understand, those two are still get along.
Yeah.
I've heard her say some very nice things about Tom Cruise. I've heard Tom Cruise say very nice things about her. And now if they really still get along, she'll be in that Days of Thunder sequel that he's saying he's going to do.
I don't know.
If she's not in it, then I don't think those stories about them still getting along will be very true. But we'll see if she's actually in the sequel. We'll see. All right, what's next?
All right. Jared says, just checking in on you. I know what it is like having a favorite team who's lost a championship is before you were born. Also, looks like MI is outpacing Lilo and Stitch at my local AMC.
It won't. Lilo and Stitch will have the bigger opening weekend. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see in the future. I can't say guarantee that, but I'll just rephrase. I say I'm very, very shocked. I'll be shocked if Mission Impossible that's no knock on Mission Impossible. It's more of a commentary on how big I think Lilo and Stitch is going to be. But I think Lilo and Stitch will definitely have the bigger opening weekend. All right, what's next?
WP says, hi crew, watching Final Reckoning Wednesday night in BFI IMAX in London.
Nice.
Been on a rewatch of MI films, and Fallout is undeniably not just a great film, but one of the best action films ever made. My question to you is your favorite stunt, or what is your favorite stunt in these movies?
I mean, the motorcycle one is crazy. And when you look and watched all the documentary stuff that went into like all the planning and the construction and the preparation to do that one stunt, his helicopter stuff is pretty crazy as well.
Yeah.
The stuff on that, on the tower is insane. But you know what? Even though it's probably technically the least complex, I can't remember which movie it was, but the one where he's literally hanging on to the side of a plane as it takes off.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I can't remember which one that was.
Yeah.
I think it was the one after...
Was it Rogue Nation? No.
It was the one after Rogue.
That to me is one of the craziest ones. Like literally on a jet, he's literally hanging on the outside of that jet as it take. I mean, that to me was absolutely nuts. All right, what's next?
Anonymous with a $20 tip.
Thank you, Anonymous.
Hi, this is my first time writing. Two-part Star Wars question. Do you guys think Jyn Erso should get an Andor treatment, a prequel to Rogue One like Andor?
No.
And second question, they should redo episodes 8 and 9 with Han Solo and Luke, of course. That'll never happen.
No, again, listen, I just waxed poetic about my absolute hatred of those dumpster garbage fire prequel movies, but they are canon. You don't touch canon. I will defend those movies, even though I hate them. I'll defend them to my dying breath. You don't touch them. You don't touch their canonicity. They are canon. It is Star Wars history. It's official. It's locked. So even though I don't like them, I will defend them. You can't redo them. And that includes the sequels. They are canon. You may find them. And by the way, I like the first of the pre. Like, I still think The Force Awakens is a wonderful movie. I think it's great. Me and Schnepp went to go watch it like 15 times. We'd walk across the street on our lunch breaks and just go into a matinee of it and just go sit down and watch it. I love that. I think The Rise of Skywalker, or sorry, not Rise of Skywalker. I think The Last Jedi has its upsides and its downsides. And then The Rise of Skywalker is just a dumpster fire on the level of the prequels. But again, all of them are canon.
Yeah.
And you defend that. You don't touch them.
Yeah.
They may not have worked out the way we wanted them to, but they are what they are, and now you just got to move forward with it, so you don't change canon.
You can't have these films which were released in theaters and then suddenly tell audiences, well, those ones don't count.
Yeah.
You just can't do that.
All right, what's next?
Sabine Rocks says, I'm fairly new to Star Wars TV. I just started watching Rebels. Man, I love Rebels.
I love Rebels too.
And I'm obsessed. I'm on season 2 right now. I can't get enough of Chopper and the crew. And the crew. And I thought the Inquisitors were badass and scary till Vader pulls up. Do you remember that scene when he first pulls up and they're like, just run?
Oh, yeah.
But what should I watch next? I mean, I'm going to say Andor or Mandalorian.
Yeah. And I'd say that's really your only options.
And then if you really
don't
want
watch
a skeleton
Obi-Wan,
crew.
don't watch The Acolyte. Don't watch
Ahsoka. Oh, Boba Fett. Do not watch.
Don't watch the Book of Boba Fett. I don't even think. Listen, I'm different from most of my Star Wars fandom brethren. That I'm not the biggest fan of Clone Wars. It definitely has some super high points, but overall, I don't know. Even though it's the exact same people who made Rebels, I just think they did a much better job on Rebels.
Yeah,
I really, really like Rebels. But even though I'm not the biggest fan of Clone Wars, a lot of Star Wars fans really do love it, and you might want to check that out too. But yeah, I think next up should be Andor.
Yep.
After watch Rebels, watch Andor. And by the way, that's a nice little segue into Andor.
Those really sync up nicely.
Because historically they have overlapping events.
Right.
So yeah, do that and then roll into Andor.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
TJ Perry, I feel like HBO changed its name back because they kept hearing Apple TV Plus is the new HBO of streaming. Like, no, we're the HBO of streaming.
Again, taking the name out was the stupidest thing ever. And my only question is, why did it take them so long to move it back? Because it's clear you needed to move it back. All right, what's next?
Anonymous, what are your thoughts on Superman looking weak in the trailers and always getting beat up? I've even heard people say only a Doomsday level threat should be able to make him as bad as we see him in the snow. Like beat up is bad. What do you think?
I think it's a bunch of whiny little sucks who are just looking for something to complain about. One of the biggest critiques that is always around the character of Superman is that he's unrelatable, he's too powerful, it makes it difficult to connect to the character. How do you write a challenging thing for a guy who's basically a god, and blah, 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 blah. So James Gunn did two things with these trailers. Number one, he makes him feel more relatable. All right. But number two, they show that he is going to face challenges. Like, because in all honesty, Superman should just be able to fly into any story and go flick and then win everything. You've got to show that it's going to be a challenge for him, that he's up against tough odds. And by the way, it all depends on what it is James Gunn sets up. Like, it's not some common bank robbers that are getting their shots in on Superman. They're going to have to be extraordinary things. And by the way, if you know the character of Ultraman, and you know what the deal is with that character, then you wouldn't say something that stupid. Again, if you don't, what do they want? Superman just to be a Superman movie where just nothing is a challenge for him and everything is easy? How's that an interesting movie to watch? So I think James Gunn was using these trailers to directly attack that common criticism that we've had for decades and decades and decades about the challenges of making Superman. Show that this is going to be a challenge for him. He has a struggle ahead of him. And I'm sure James Gunn will construct it in such a way that it's not just some average nobodies that can give Superman a hard time. These are going to be legitimate big threats. And the fact that Ultraman is featured in there is a pretty big indicator of that. Anyway. All right, what's next?
We got one more here. Sci-fi extremist. Hey, John and crew, what casting do you think will have the most significance, backlash, impact? Batman or Wonder Woman?
It's impossible to say until you see who they cast.
Right.
Right.
There's a bigger fan base for Batman, but that doesn't mean.
Yeah, like it really all depends. Like the biggest problem that I always had right from day one when they announced Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman was simply she's not a good actress. And by the way, I like her very much. Like the more I see her doing interviews and when she was doing DC fandom and she was leading the panel, like I'm like, man, this woman has grace and poise and she's super sharp and nothing to not like about her. But I'm sorry, she's not a strong actress. She's not a strong performer. She's just not. And that's why when I often say when people ask me about fan casting, my common answer is I really don't care who they cast in whatever role, as long as they cast a really good actor. That's all I really care about. That's why when they announced that Robert Pattinson was going to be the Batman for Matt Reeves, I was like, hell yeah, because that dude's a world-class actor. Christopher Nolan recognizes that, and that's why Christopher Nolan cast him. Like, he's a world-class actor, so I was excited about it. So, again, which one will get more backlash? It depends on who they cast. Because you're going to want to but for me, as long as they get somebody who's a strong performer, I'll be happy. As long as they get somebody who's a strong performer, I'll be happy. And all right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show a part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Again, big special thanks to Chris Carr and Robert Meyer Burnett for being here. I want to thank Ray Ora.
Hey, see you guys tomorrow.
Jonathan Voico.
See you guys later.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.